Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame.
You know what that music means, the familiar voices that want to take care of you throughout the high school football seasons. It's myself, Damon Benning, Jacob Padilla, and my main man, Michael, don't call me Jerome Sautter, with another edition of NEB Preps. How about that? And you guys are rocking the T-shirts, gear. I feel a little out of place as I'm kind of just rocking Omaha Wrestling.
I mean, I have that T-shirt, and it's great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How you guys doing, man?
Good. Feels good to be back and to get all three of us on here.
Yeah, this is new.
Yeah.
This is new. So feel free to, if you just want to mute me, you can. It's okay. But I mean,
we're here for your expertise.
Yeah, right. I'm here for Jacob's notes.
I dived into this yesterday. I've been. Yeah.
Oh, that is an absolute gem.
I got my notes.
Could you not find a folder to put those in?
This is all my notes from the practices I went to.
We'll start right there. I do enjoy those.
Thank you.
I don't always love giving you compliments, but I do enjoy those. They're difficult. High school is hard because it's very fluid, and I do think, it's just it's informative. I like them.
The thing about those is, a lot of people don't realize there's prep work that you have to do, and you're not just showing up empty-handed. Sometimes you do, but most of the time it's okay, I got to do 2 hours of just diving in here.
That's why I don't like giving you compliments.
I don't know. I like the work. Work's never scared me. So yeah.
So would you end up 22 of them?
22 practices in 2 weeks. Last year in 2023, I did 18 in 3 weeks. No week 0. So I had to my goal was 20 and I got to 22.
So Jacob, I'd never heard anybody complain about not having week 0, but a couple of weeks ago, he's putting the schedule together. And I don't know if this was over the phone or text, and he goes, "Damn, no week 0, man. It's it's a crash course." It's said no one ever, right? Normally coaches, we dread week 0s.
The week 0 concept is always a little strange because it's week 1 for us as here, they're games.
Yeah.
But some others you got to wait for it, and just the week 0 concept, the term. I get it, but these games still count. So it's just week 1. Just move up your calendar and let's dive into it.
They
get
moved
ready.
it back this year.
Yeah.
So we didn't have it.
I just think
I enjoyed stretch it out a little bit more and gave you a few more options to maybe go get an extra game than you would have normally.
Yeah. The only date that I really pay attention to other than the opener is how close to Thanksgiving is the state championships, because that's ultimately the goal, right? So it's let's back up from Thanksgiving and see how this thing's going to shake out.
It'll be, actually the Tuesday of Thanksgiving is that week is the second day. It's actually my birthday too. So I will spend my birthday all day there. Every 7 years it rolls on that day.
Whether I'm broadcasting or coaching, I will see you.
Yeah.
Although I hope it's the latter.
Tuesday? Isn't the A game on Monday night?
It is this year.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So I definitely will see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, you'll be broadcasting the whole thing.
So where should we start?
Well,
let's start with A.
Yeah, let's start with A. We got the Sautter got his coaches poll up, and
wait, it's not my First of all, I'm the one. Yeah.
Hey,
let's
I said your coaches poll. I didn't say your poll. I didn't say your rankings. I said your
I'm
coaches
the one
poll.
that puts it together.
That's why it's your poll.
It is not my opinion. I just do the math.
Oh, Jacob, I knew exactly what you were saying.
I just want to make sure that's very clear, because some people do think it's my poll,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not
even
the case.
because they don't see that it's
can't
the coach.
read.
It's not the coach's poll.
There's some people that are just looking for a reason to be mad. It doesn't really matter what it is. They'll find it. So
yeah.
But speaking of reason to be mad, I don't see how those North-South folks are feeling. Coming in at number 1 in the poll is Omaha Westside, reigning champions. And I wanted to ask you about this, as from a coach's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the deferring to the returning champs, even though maybe there's another team that a lot of people think maybe have a little bit more talent, considering how much you lost. You still have some guys that have to prove themselves, but are good players.
Also got a whole new team. I mean,
yeah, 100%. Like if I'm voting, and it's not because clearly I've done this enough where I'm not deflecting, right? It's not like I'm afraid of the expectations.
Right.
But Millard South is the number one team in the state.
That's what I
and I don't have any qualms saying that out loud. I think if I was voting, I would make Millard South the number one team in the state. But whether we're 1 or we're 2, we don't play them in the regular season. So
disappointing.
So it's just me. All this hype is just gonna. Oh my god! Like if that ends up being the state final, the hype all season long and the talk and the whatever is just gonna be way over the top.
One of the things that I'm kind of excited about is I think this is the first time in a long time we're clearly the underdog. Yeah. Right. So, but we're the defending
underdog. I wouldn't say the underdog, considering I don't know that there's anybody else who's going to be an underdog too.
Yeah. So, but even as the defending state champions, I think the perception is, and we'll get a chance to see if it's reality. Is, I mean, that's a loaded football team, and that we'd be seeing somewhere down the road. So I think how you manage it week to week and just staying right where you're at is going to kind of be the key.
I think one of the things too, with when you talk about, down the road, we'll get to playoffs and wild card points. But when you talk about that, how important are these out of state games and those teams needing to continue to win for wild card points to matter a lot? For like a Basha, Arizona, who Millard South plays, or DeSmet, who Prep plays, or Cherry Creek, who Millard North plays. Those teams are going to have to win.
Yeah.
In order for those,
I mean, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Clearly that you're not going to get hurt by the record, but it's a cool idea, and it's one in which I would always entertain exploring, and I'm happy for those guys, man. Safe travels though for everybody. It's hard to take that many groups, so safe travels for Millard South and for Cherry Creek, who's coming here, and Prep who's going to DeSmet. So
Prep's just a bus. I mean, that's a little easier.
But hey, still
a little different than Arizona. That's
a little easier. I mean, just I talked to Coach Wisdom the other day, and he said, I'm trying to find a place to practice. Like I've been struggling trying to find a place to practice on Thursday. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they're leaving Wednesday, right?
Wednesday,
tomorrow,
probably, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like basketball. Some of these traveling games have become more common. It's a little easier to take a 14-man basketball team than a 70-man football roster.
Plus equipment.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like it's a significant undertaking to travel that far for a game like this. But respect to Millard South and Coach Wisdom and for taking this up, and we'll see how it goes for him.
Yeah. But just having the opportunity to place in 6 straight, which has never been done. Even that run that I went on in my former life,
right?
And from 12 to however long, that was 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is
really good teams. Yeah.
This is an exciting year.
But we talked about North South being one, potentially being one, but Westside is one to start the season, and the reason for it is, they lost a great quarterback, lost a great running back, lost some great two-way players, but they got some really good ones back as well. And it starts with Christian Jones, Keenan Cotton, guys coming back, leaders that are productive both sides of the ball. Johnny Hurtado is another one with a lot of experience playing both ways. The interesting thing here is Braylon Warren stepping in at quarterback. Yeah. And for people that haven't seen him play at all, what kind of player is he?
He's extremely talented.
Well, a lot of poise. He can make all the throws. He's got a big boy arm. And he's grown up a quarterback. So you watch his mechanics. You look at his ball handling. And he runs a big boy offense now. We do a ton, whether it's gap or inside zone, outside zone. We do some base intricacies in the passing game. He handles a full load. So I think how quickly he gets acclimated to real game tempo and real game decisions, I think will be the key early on for a guy that's just a sophomore. Fast. But he is extremely talented.
The guy that, and you know this because you see him every day at practice, but Quentin Warren is going to have a huge year.
Yeah. It's a big time player.
He's a guy that, like, nobody outside of the program talks about. like coming into the year. No one's.
Yeah, I mean, he played behind two great players on the outside outside linebacker, and Christian Jones and Trevor Spady.
Right. But it's one of those things where like he's going to have a massive year and people are like, oh, who's this kid?
Now he'll be a captain.
Yeah.
And he's a great two-way player. He can play quarterback, little H-back, little running back. So starting outside linebacker. If we have to use some pass rush deals, he can play on the D-line. So he's a guy that's got a ton of versatility.
Yeah. The matchup with North is your first game. And the interior, people need to pay attention to the interior of that one because you have Cam Bell, who's going to see Tyson Terry at some point, because Tyson's either going to play center or guard or maybe both. Like I want to. That's
Cam playing both ways this year too. Right?
Yeah, it's big boy football.
Yeah,
it is big boy football, and two Goliaths, and I got nothing but respect for Tyson Terry, and we'll get to North in a second, but I do think, the offensive line play is key, and I'm glad you did your homework. Johnny Hurtado is a guy that kind of flies under the radar. He's a two-way starter for us, and wouldn't be surprised. Like he's a guy that I could see in that opener carrying that hammer.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me at all if you see 54 carrying that hammer. Now we'll vote on that, but wouldn't surprise me at all if Hurtado got that.
The other guy for West, Tate Jenkins is
great addition.
Set to have a transfer from prep. Set to have a pretty big year. I think just being it. I've been to the very first practice of the year. He had a great practice that day. I'm guessing that's continued. Running back's one thing where there's some question there because you lost a lot, but you'll have a four-headed monster with Jenkins, Christensen, Hurtado, and Warren. You have the two like just hammers. And then Tate is a little different. Yeah, gives a little different element there.
That's pretty accurate. And then we have we can diversify outside too with Purify and Bryson.
Well, and you got some young guys transferring in there. Bryson Williams, Purify Jr. A lot of fans around here will recognize that name coming up from Lincoln North Star.
As the year goes on, they'll just continue to be better.
Very, very polished.
Yeah,
for his
Keenan
age.
Cotton is the one that gets
about 500 yards a piece for Cotton and Christian Jones last year at that wide receiver tight end spot, both impact defenders as well. And you've got that week one, no easing into it with Omaha North, like we talked about, and Titan Glassman as well coming over from North there. Be sure that one will mean a little bit more to him.
Yeah, and it is. It's been really interesting to see how quickly guys can get acclimated. The culture is what it is, and it. You either can embrace it and be a part of it, but I think being selfless is number one. You have to really be other centered to be there, and those guys have made a nice transition.
Yep. And so West Side, lot to like there. There's some guys that have to grow up in a hurry, but they've got the talent to do what they need to. Speaking of talent, we got Millard South here at number 2, and starts with the most productive returning quarterback in the state, with a ridiculous group of receivers to throw to, both tight ends and wide receiver there. And Jet Tamala threw for 2,800 yards last year, 26 touchdowns, 9 picks, 60% completion, and he's got even more guys to throw to this year than he did last year.
Yeah, the thing that I like about him that you kind of have to watch is there's a lot going on. There's a lot of guys to get the ball to. He runs a big boy offense. I mean, Coach Wisdom is super creative with how he wants to do things. I like his presence.
Yeah.
He was just a sophomore last year. It sounds weird to say when you look at his frame and his output, but he has pretty good command of that offense. It's impressive to watch.
He doesn't get too rattled or too up or down. Yeah. He's a pretty level kind of guy. I mean, he gets coached pretty hard. I think that's an understatement, but he's got a huge arm too. Yeah. Like he really does. He's a big arm guy. Obviously the weapons certainly help him. With Lofton coming over and
Chase Lofton, Florida State commit.
Isaac Jensen to me he's different. Like I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see that. I don't discount it. He had the furthest way to go in terms of being accomplished. Lofton statistically was better, and how that translates, I don't know. But the guy that I start with for that team is clearly Amarion Jackson. Yeah. I mean, we can fast forward to Jensen, and he may be that guy, but I'm telling you, when you talk about route running, handsy, he's physical. He can go get a ball.
Catchability is
Marion Jackson is way complete.
1,086 yards, 12 touchdowns a year ago, and only getting better.
Mean-spirited. Like, he's the real deal.
Play safety, too.
Yeah.
So, like, and I've made this comparison before, but it feels very much so like an Xavier Watts comparison, where people are like, oh, he doesn't run fast enough, or he doesn't. There's all the doesn't. Well, let's talk about
what he does do is play football.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Like, so it'll be interesting to see him play safety. It really will. Like, can he be physical, hit, come down in the box a little bit, run game stuff? But he'll have some interceptions now. And like, he definitely will.
It's going to be even harder to guard him this year. Obviously, we talked about tight ends, but you got Deshaun Prince coming over as well.
Well, Prince is going to probably, it looks like he's just going to play corner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a backlog at receiver.
Yeah.
Like
you've got Dallas, you got Lofton, you've got Chase, they got
about
Amari
8 guys that can play receiver. So I mean, you have
who's the young guy in the slot that I like? I watched him in 7-on-7 just kill teams out of the back.
Central. I can't think of his name, but you're right. He's going to be their starting slot.
Gosh,
like shifty, quick.
Yeah,
like
he's tough.
Yeah. And even their backup to him is pretty good, I thought. So, and he's going to be like their starting holder. That's it.
Must be rough. Because even for the team we had last year, we didn't have that kind of depth.
No, yeah. And the key for them, obviously, would be like, does a weather game happen down the road? And can you
got to
throw
replace Nolan Feller too? That was a huge part of their offense last year.
Playing without him last year, I think helped them. But he was so good. But then when he got dinged, I mean,
Gabe Pruitt will be that guy. Yeah.
And how do you have a conversation this long and you don't even talk about guys like
offensive line,
like Dylan Cool or
Dylan Cool? Like at the practice I went to was lights out.
Yeah,
he is a great player.
He's
let's calm it down a little bit. No extra after the whistle stuff, but he is a great player. He's poised to have a huge year. Huge year.
I think people make too much of that kind of stuff. I used to hear that a little. I used to hear that, about Terry and some of these guys, and we had some guys that played.
He got some personal late, penalties is what I'm saying.
RJ Eckert had a few.
You can't cost your team.
I get it. But that stuff, I get it. As a coach, you want your guys to be disciplined. If I'm a spectator watching it, I wouldn't allow that to form my opinion on his style of play because he's really good.
He's a really game wrecker. Like
he is.
The splash plays. That's like all he does. Interceptions, forced fumbles,
touchdowns
tackles.
Did he have a year ago?
Yeah, he had fumble and interception returns. Like he just gets, and he's good on offense too. So you get the ball in his hands, he knows what to do with it. And it's a ball
tackles
hawk,
for loss are going to be huge. He can run around, fly around. They can use him a bunch of different ways. They can move him to the back end too.
They can't play guard,
and they need him because they need him with what they lost in the pass rush to continue to really change games because they had
that D line.
Yeah, they were Laquana and Miller and like those guys up front that they had like 186 tackles for loss or something last year.
So. That Pew and. I think they'll be okay.
They've got size. They've got some guys up there that are getting some recruiting attention early on with Von Segrin and Carter Glab and Pugh. Like they got some big dudes up there too.
Those three are pretty good. Now,
in the trenches.
When you talk about offensive line, those you have those three. Well, Pugh I think is probably more defensive line. You need some size. They're lacking a little bit of size up front.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a little bit of a question, but
he said a weather game.
No, I'm just saying if it happened, like you don't know. They throw the ball. Can you run?
What can stop the irresistible force?
Can you run the ball? Can you run the ball consistently in a game where it's a 40-mile-an-hour wind or it's -10 wind chill?
Yeah.
Like, can you get to that? That's a question because right now they're clearly the most dominant team on paper. They're clearly the best team on paper, in my opinion. But there's a little bit of questions about stuff like that. And I think that's fair. I mean, the receiving core, there hasn't been one. I mean, Bellevue West had some great receivers, but they weren't all like at the same time on the same team.
Yeah.
You had Helms and Riley, you had Helms and Riley together, and then you had a young Davon Hall there with them. the Johnsons were really good, but they were like the one guy. Like I'm missing. I mean, I know that's the conversation, but I think like it's pretty impressive.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I get it, but we're
also only talking about like 20 years.
The productivity we still have yet to see.
Right.
The talent potential.
That's what
we know Amari. We like a lot of those other guys, but they haven't really.
I'm telling you, Isaac Jensen is.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
He's pretty damn good.
Oh my goodness.
All right, that's 1 and 2. Let's kind of move along here and knock out some of these other ones. Omaha North said week 1, the West Side are getting them. They lost quite a bit lost their quarterback, lost their top receivers, but they do have Tyson Terry coming back. We talked about he's big, strong kid, going to play both ways. At 76 tackles, 2.5 sacks last year, and then they got one of the best running backs coming back, and Jaron Cannon,
pretty good.
He had
1200. Was it 1200?
Yep, 1261, 16 touchdowns, 7.2 yards a carry. So that's a good place to start there.
Defensive
with
coach
Terry and Cannon
shaking his head. We play them.
They also have Connor O'Neill back, a wide receiver with good experience there.
Hey,
but
their receiver core is actually pretty good. I like
losing Champ Davis is kind of unfortunate just because fun player, but
Darian Jones is good.
Next one up,
be fine.
And we had a really hard time with Connor in 7-on-7.
Yeah, Connor.
So he can go get it too.
Connor, Darius Jones, Arius Shelley, Corday Richards, another guy in that mix.
Yeah, he can flat out fly.
Yes. So they have they're longer and kind of bigger than what they've been at that position, the receiver position. But I think I like that. It's just a matter of, hey, quarterback. We haven't seen him.
Yeah. Mikey Gallo steps in there.
Yeah. We haven't seen him except for like a practice, which is different than, real bullets flying at you. So we'll see how he,
Wow, a Shelley and a Terry at North. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. Their defensive line's pretty good too. Greg Moore's like little stocky body guy. Coach Martin, they love that guy. Yeah. They love those little. I think back to like Jason Martin's, right? Like short dudes that just are like tough guys. And Greg Moore's that guy. Tyson Johnson's in that conversation too. Terry, obviously, and Marquise McIntyre will be another name.
I like McIntyre quite a bit.
Oh, he's
a good
put
player.
Together.
He's a good player. He makes the all-body team too.
Yeah, Greg Moore's in that group too. Like that'll play linebacker, but up front, he won't play linebacker. He'll play defensive line, I would think.
Does the ranking so far fit your eye?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have had.
You don't have
to. I would have had. I personally would have had Millard South 1. I would have had West Side 2. I probably would have had Kearney or Elkhorn South 3.
I do think it's reasonable, though. I think they're similar. Like they've got some key pieces back, but they've got some questions. Like everybody else, once you get past Millard South and West Side, maybe the depth of big names isn't there to the same degree with the rest of these teams. But a lot of them have some pieces that they could. Like if you fill in their holes, if some guys like step up and really develop, they've got a chance to be that next team. It's
just kind of it's just strange to see, like you're looking at the top 10, and we'll get to Kearney and Elk South and Millard North and everybody, but you got to go all the way to 8 to see a familiar. So I'm thinking in my head, it's like I know we opened up with 3 teams that were in the quarterfinals last year, but this may be a tricky, difficult year. Once you get past 1, because even
I think we could see a lot of shuffling, in this top 10 throughout the season here.
Is it kind of seems like it's setting itself up to be one of those years?
Well, because even like you look at the teams receiving votes, and they've got some talented players down there. They got like D1 guys on those teams that didn't even make the top 10.
I was surprised to see Papio not in there.
I was a little surprised at that. I thought they'd probably be 8, 9, 10.
I thought Central maybe.
Central, I thought would be 8, 9, 10 too.
Yeah. And both those teams just right outside. But yeah, you mentioned Kearney. They coming back, bringing back their quarterback, Griffin Novacek there, entering the season at number 4. 622 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 328 yards rushing, another 5 touchdowns. Good place to start. They got Sawyer Schilke, who is a difference maker on defense there.
Play running back too.
Yeah. Best athlete. You got to
6'4",
got to use them as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
And then outside of that, like they got a lot of weapons to replace.
The Bertrands are something there too.
Yeah.
Like Turner's 6'6", 255, 250. Like that's a big kid. And then Reese is 6'2", 225. So some good athletes. I think they'll be pretty fine.
Yeah. And well coached.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Can we also like there's this thing. I love Coach Cool because he coached me as a sophomore.
I've never heard that before.
I know.
That's a brand new story.
But it's
kind of like that in Jensen, right?
Yeah. But I do think like let's not put Kearney in the same conversation as Grand Island and getting more out of less, because there's a lot. And like Kearney's facility is great. They're they have athletes there. It's not the same. Like it's not the same. It's apples.
I didn't realize people were saying that.
There's people I've had discussions with that. I'm like, yeah, Kearney is actually like pretty, you're right. It's a good point. Someone brought that up to me. I was like, hey, it's probably a good point. Like we probably need to stop that discussion. Coach Cool is a great coach though. There's a reason why when a job opens up, people always call him. It's because he's really good. So, and been doing it a long time.
Yep. Rounding out top 5, Elkhorn South after an 11-2 season. Got their quarterback back, Madden Riggs, who was pushed into duty last year because of the injury to Carson Ronner, and was able to kind of
good athlete.
Took his lumps, kind of gained that experience, and now going into senior year, it's his job. Threw for 1,000 yards last year, 13 touchdowns, 7 picks. And they lost Brady Bousquet, who's kind of the do-everything offensive weapon for them, but they got a really nice backcourt. Yeah, Gavin Shanahan and Jaden Sutko.
Those
guys that played last year.
They're going to use him a lot of different ways. I'll say that. Like a lot. And he is very impressive.
Yeah, he caught my eye early in the season last year as a sophomore because I was watching a stream and trying to figure out who they are because, like, on the strides, you don't always – it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. And I was like, who is this guy? Because I knew Bousquet going in. And he ended up being hurt, so they were trying to figure out. They had some of these guys filling in. I was like, "Who is this kid?"
You talk about a Swiss Army knife. He can play a lot of different places.
He'll play some linebacker too, like on defense, and they'll use him a lot of different ways. He's pretty good. One thing talking about Elkhorn South that we haven't talked about of any of these teams is Brody Parks, their kicker's back.
Special teams matter.
Yeah, if you need a game-winning kick or something, like he was an All-State guy last year, he's back. He made some big kicks last year.
You think style-wise, they could be in – they're built to play close games.
Right.
They went in the trenches.
Like to run the ball.
They grind you.
Yeah. Receiver don't really throw it around a lot. Like that's something.
Awesome. Another team that's on our schedule.
Yeah, Cooper Perrion and McCorder Geezer there. That's kind of leading the defense there, which, it'll always be solid there at Elkhorn South. That's the top 5 in A. We got Millard North at 6, Lincoln East at 7, Bellevue West at 8. You were referring to them earlier. Millard West at 9, Creighton Prep for 10. Anybody that jumps out to you out of those teams?
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised at Bellevue West. I think offensively, they may look a little different, but that's a team that's
certainly dangerous.
Got a nice little chip on their shoulder. I love Central's young talent. Prep's a team to watch. If Prep is good this year,
next year
they're set up to play the long game because they're young and they had big numbers. So that's a team that
like
has
Coach Young told me they have like 130 sophomore to senior.
Yeah,
that's a ton.
But I do think
they had to cut their roster.
I do think this is an important year for him.
Yeah, they had to cut it to like a travel roster because they have too many guys.
And I'm curious. I think East has good young talent. They need time, but I like their young.
Mikael Ford's a really nice player for East.
And I'm curious if I had a game to go to on Friday and it wasn't Bellevue West and Central, because we're either going to Millard North, Millard West, or Bellevue West and Central as a staff because we play them in weeks 3 and 4. I would go to Papio and Papio South.
That's going to be a great game. It's the rivalry and all that, but
that's probably where I would go if we didn't have duties other assigned, because I think those are two teams I'm very, very interested in.
I think Papio is going to be pretty good. I've said that before. I think they're very severely underrated.
And Papio South, you didn't get a chance to see, did you?
No.
Something about them, like on the hoof, they look pretty good.
Jones coming back there. Hopefully he can stay healthy and put together a full season there for them. But I think Millard North at 6 jumps out to me, just kind of the respect that the other coaches have for kind of the transformation there.
I think it's a talent thing.
Yeah, we don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, they had all these same dudes for the most part, and then went 4-6 last year. So now new coach, Alan Burrell, completely different system. Hopefully, I think for the fans just of football, that will unlock a little bit more with Ken Vermas and Pierce Mooberry. See what you can get a little bit more out of those guys.
Tight end there, too, which will help.
I know your partner, Ravi Lula, talks about it, too, and he and I have discussed that. We both feel the same way. Like, honestly, he had 7 catches last year, and all 7 of them, you put that on a highlight reel for the full season. Like, his ball skills are ridiculous at his size and strength.
He is really good.
Yeah, and Vermas is obviously really productive last year, just absolute game breaker type of
talk about a guy they'll use a bunch of different ways. Vermas, they can line up in the backfield. They can, hey, you know what? Do they know how to run the options still? Yeah. Like you could see that.
Yeah.
With him in there.
765 yards, 6 touchdowns rushing, completed 4 passes, 142 yards and a touchdown, caught 9 passes for 79 yards and a touchdown, 19 tackles, 3.5 for loss, 3 pass breakups, 1 interception. Just kind of, that dude can make an impact in so many different ways.
Sounds like Golden Corral, a little bit of everything, right?
Up front there is going to be the key for them.
That was
Henry
the key
Raybur's
last year.
Guy.
Yeah, he's a dude going to Wyoming there. Really impactful defensive pass rusher there. 8 sacks last season. You got Colin Bogott's back at running back as well. Kind of a big, kind of a power back there to go with Vermas as kind of more the speed guy. So like they've got some dudes. Now can they fill it out around them?
I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Des DeHaan, how do you say his name?
Yeah.
Nick,
corner.
Pretty good cornerback there. So they've got
Vermas
impact
is gonna
guys.
Play safety.
Yeah. They got impact guys at all 3 levels.
Play outside linebacker.
Yeah. So can they fill in the piece around them, like you said, up front? Can they control things well enough in the trenches there to let that talent shine? If they do, they've got a chance to very much be right here.
Rocky Chavez. It's going to be key for them, too, at linebacker.
Again, another guy that makes the all-body type team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get off the bus.
And you mentioned Bellevue West. Will Anderson stepping at quarterback. It's a guy that they've been grooming for a bit now. Back up behind Kalen last year. They got him plenty of playing time. Now he's got to show if he's ready to step up and consistently make the plays for them.
He'll use his legs a lot. Remember,
he's got a great frame.
Yeah, they'll use him in the run game a lot.
He's got a great frame.
I think Huffman over there likes his arm talent as well. It's just, can he polish it up and be consistent with it? And he's got weapons. I mean, it's not obviously losing some
Green
big
and
names,
Keith?
but and TJ Whaley coming back there, tight end.
Whaley guy.
Jermaine Green, Caprice Keith, you mentioned there, coming back after being kind of the next guys up, that lower in the rotation behind the seniors last year. Now it's their turn to step up and be those typical Bellevue West wideouts that we've seen. And they got some impact guys on defense as well. Dudois and Stanley Hayter coming back there, both guys that can really make plays behind the line of scrimmage.
I can't believe Hayter's coming back.
Dudois. That's how you say that. I mean, I butchered that name real bad.
I know, that's why I said that.
Say. Yeah, it's a really hard one. It's a hard one, man.
How many years does Hayter have? This guy's a headache.
Hey, they're going to be. You watch Bellevue West. If you go to the game or get their film, their defense is going to be.
I like him. I like him as a person. I like him as a person.
I'm not going to give away the secrets here, but their defense is going to look a lot different.
We play them in week 4. There's plenty of time to get tape.
I'm very multiple. I'll say that.
Hopefully they do something well.
Yeah. A few other names in a quarterback. We mentioned Central BJ Newsom coming back. Has played a lot of football for them.
He flies under the radar as a quarterback with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of football.
He needs to be a little more vocal leadership-wise.
Yeah. And the young guy, Broxton Tepley, started as a freshman last year for Lincoln Southwest. He's got Jackson Carpenter to throw to there, so we'll see kind of what he can do stepping into his second year. Just a few names there. And then running back.
Carp's a guy that I think's got touched the ball 1 out of every 4 snaps.
Yes, very much. He's only 6th among returning pass catchers in yards from last year. That's got to go up. Yeah. Like, he's got to be a 1,000-yard guy. Like, they need to use him every way possible. They got to
just find a way to
now, he's going to see some coverages now, but
he can go up and he can moss some dudes. Like, that dude.
So my man is explosive.
Yeah. And then big name of running back, Tony Palmer, South Sioux City. Ridiculously productive.
He's got no help.
Yeah.
I saw them in June, and I was like, man. This dude's looking like Barry Sanders behind the line of scrimmage, just having to make people miss.
He's
almost 1,500 yards and 10 yards a carry last year, 19 touchdowns. And again, it's not like he had a ton around him last year either.
Yeah, he's going to have to. I mean, he's not Barry Sanders, but he's doing his best to be Barry Sanders.
Yeah. Quickly in B, I mean, who else would come in at number 1? Bennington. They got to stay there till they lose, and it's been a very long time.
And their defense.
Yes, that's. I was just looking at obviously
won 39 straight games, man. That's a lot.
And then you go down on their defense and look, that guy's back, that guy's back, that guy's back. Like they're bringing back most of their defense, so they lose basically everything on offense, but they're not going to need to score many points because nobody's going to be scoring against these guys with Kyler Lordson, Jack Jansen, Gavin Olsen on the back
Lane
end
Bower's back at linebacker too.
Yep. So they had Elliot Anderson's their leading receiver coming back. Got to get a new quarterback in there. I know you talked about there's kind of a competition going on there.
They're Houston, Hill, and Ty. Whatever. I'm not going to try and say that. Ty is the younger one. I think they'll probably end up going with Hill, or probably did.
He was a backup last year, yeah.
Yeah, he just does a little bit more right now. But Ty can really run it and is a big body guy. They're going to have to find running back room. But like you said, it's defense. It's all about the defense. Last year, when it got towards kind of the middle of the season, it was, hey, in order to beat Bennington in Class B, you're going to have to score 21 points. Well, North scored, I think, 21 and didn't beat them.
Yeah.
So, like, it's the same. I mean, Kyler Lawrenson is this, if he stays healthy and things go as planned, this will be his third season of 100-plus total tackles, and
he's incredible.
And third season with double-digit tackles for loss.
Yeah, on top of the 108 tackles. He had 19 for loss, 2 sacks, 3 picks, 2 passes to his defense, and a forced fumble last year. Just everywhere.
If he was 6'2", that's game over.
Yeah. Like, if he had better measurables, like he's such a good football player.
Yeah. So he's
going to go. How about whatever he typically touches stops moving?
Yeah. It does all the time. And if he's in space,
no, he's not a dude that's rallying late to the pile to rack up these tackles. No, he's the first one there.
He's double-legging folks in open field.
Yes. And if he's in space and you're trying to make a move on him, guess what? He's going to either do a low single or an ankle pick or something. You ain't getting by him.
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah. Great wrestler, obviously.
Broadcast.
So everybody's still chasing Bennington B. Waverly comes in at 2. They had one of the breakout stars in Class B last year with Nathan Axman back. Really productive sophomore year, 791 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, 381 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Kind of a dual threat back.
I'm curious to see how they want to move the ball this year.
Yeah. They've been bouncing. Yeah, they've kind of adjusted their talent really well. Like they haven't been married to a system.
So he's got to get his touches though. I think you have to start there.
Yeah, they got a lot of experience in the trenches to carve out some space for him.
Them in Bennington week 1. That'll be about 17 to 14.
Well, a lot of Waverly guys, they don't miss the weight room either.
No.
They look the part
Coach
of the trenches.
Harms does a good job with them on the weight room.
Yeah.
Elkhorn North is at 3, obviously losing Lofton, but they got a lot coming back. Starts with Jet Tingleoff at running back, one of the most productive players just anywhere in the state coming back there. Little guy, but man, is he dynamic on both sides of the ball.
He's really good.
I call him ski skirt.
Yeah, he's missing. He's really good.
And have another blossoming pass catcher in their own right.
Yep, Jace Reynolds, Nebraska offered during the camp season here, heading into the junior year. Linebacker, wide receiver, going to have to step up there with the guys they lost. With Tommy Mechna was a big-time playmaker for them. Reynolds has kind of stepped into that role to complement Tinglehoff there. They got Barry Freeze on defense, impact player there. Ethan Beachy stepping in at quarterback. He got a lot of experience last year.
Fine.
Yeah, like they worked him in. They gave him some chances. So now he's stepping into that being his job there. So they've got a chance to be pretty good there.
Again, they'll use him in the run game a lot. Like that's what they do.
Scott there at 4. Lost a lot, but I mean that backfield was phenomenal last year. Now he's stepping in this year.
Could look a little different offensively.
Look a lot different.
They got a ton of weapons outside, and
Dylan Van Dyke
can spin it.
Yeah.
And Nate Christensen is a guy that came over from Millard South. He's gonna be a key. He's gonna have a big year.
Joe Kaliga, best receiver coming back as well.
They were a handful for us in 7-on-7 like scheme wise and
plays.
They made plays. They made a lot of plays.
They're gonna the offense from the little bit of the scrimmage. I mean, they ran about 12 plays on offense in the scrimmage we went to on Saturday.
How's little Liebentrick? Because I think he should be a
be
stud.
fine. Like he'll be in that receiver mix. Might have
because they have about 6.
Yeah, might have to play safety to start.
Yeah.
But he'll be fine. Nice, good body type and all that stuff.
Good
but
genes.
Well, of course, yeah. But their offense feels like it'll be a blend of the Termans. Like Matt, head coach Terman, would rather run veer, right?
Yeah.
All the time. But Seth would rather kind of spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're going to see very multiple.
And you have to let Van Dyke sling it a little bit there. Like that's just how they're going to have to move
he's not
the
a
ball.
runner like Bennett Terman was, and that they've had.
And he can survive in the pocket. He can scramble if he needs to. But he's not running the option every down there. You want him standing back there and finding receivers.
And his brother Luke is tight end,
yeah.
outside linebacker. Their 2 linebackers are pretty good. Gage Gunther is back out. Didn't play last year.
He was a baseball guy.
Yeah. So now he's back. Looks great. Like those 2
Tough
in the
kid.
middle.
Had him in Little League.
Yeah. Gunther and Van Dyke in the middle will be pretty good linebacker for them.
And then rounding out the top 5 in Class B is Gretna dropping down from A, and they got some big boys up front there.
They're huge.
Calvin Jansen, 6'3", 290. Ben Marion, 6'4", 290. Griffin Goldman, 6'2", 250. Those guys, and they got some other dudes as well. Those are just kind of the 3 big names.
I like their staff, even post, Coach Kale. Like this is a good group and a prideful group too.
And
Mike Knutson steps in quarterback. He's got
a
nice arm. It's now his time. Probably maybe could have played a little more last year, but they just went with the older guy. Maybe
Wilcoxon had been waiting his turn, and he's a really good player as well.
Knutson he's got a nice arm and all that. It's just a matter of and
he can run a little bit.
Kind
of
back to the Braylon Warren conversation.
Is he ready for it?
Yeah, when the bullets start flying and there's people in the stands and there's all of that emotion. How does that deliver? Is the question.
Yeah. And elsewhere in B, you got, the next 3 teams are all teams with really productive quarterbacks coming back with Norris, Jarrett Behrens, Seward with Treston Haas, and then Hastings with Tucker Sinek.
Treston Haas is 6'3", 190. Saw him 7-on-7 at Norris. Yeah. Love him. I think he's awesome. Jack.
Vinilik?
Yeah, Vinilik, 6'3", 205 receiver. And just a junior, both of them. So that's a team that if they can get some upfront help, they have some weapons, they have a nice quarterback, and that receiver is really good. Vinilik, he's really good. Looks the part, he's really good. They're going to be a little dangerous if they can get some upfront kind of stuff working.
Mentioned Sinek there, almost 2,300 yards last year for Hastings. Behrens, over 1,500 yards for
honestly
Norris.
in the family, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's a pretty good family.
Going to be able to
there.
throw the ball. I think he's probably going to throw the ball.
Yeah, and he's got his top receiver back, Keithan Krings there, almost 700 yards last year, 4 touchdowns. You mentioned Vinilik, almost 600 yards last year, 3 scores. They've got Haas, kind of a dual threat guy, 1,500 yards, can pull it down and run as well. Behrens, again, 14 touchdowns, 1,500 yards last year. So we got some pretty good quarterbacks coming back in B for the teams that maybe aren't right there in that top 5, but have a chance to put up some numbers. Brock Templar is a running back name to know out of Blair. 1,500 yards last year, 9 touchdowns, over 6 yards a carry. Nate Kelly stepping in, losing his running back there, Sebastian Boyle. He's going to have to shoulder even more of the offense. That's a dual threat quarterback there for them.
Well, they're just going to run the ball.
He's got broad shoulders, so he's a good player.
He had almost 1,000 yards.
Carrying or handling a workload.
Yeah, had almost 1,000 yards last year while sharing the backfield with one of the best running backs in the state there. So they need him even more. Mason Gunn at Gretna East had 735 yards last year. They'll rely on him even more. And then Camden Walker, GI Northwest, is a pretty good receiver coming back. I think you and I were impressed when we saw him. Big kid can go up and make some plays there. So some of the names to know and be. As we wrap up here, any of these teams in C1, C2, 8-man that kind of jump out to you guys?
Wahoo for sure.
Yeah, Wahoo for sure.
They were on your camp tour.
That's a really good football team.
And they're big up front.
Yeah.
They're really good. Noah Bodorsky is going to have a nice year at running back. Quarterback returns, Kaminsky. Like they're clearly.
I just
the
go
number one
back
team.
to a handful of years ago when Glock and those guys were in middle school playing basketball, and everyone told me, "Hey, Wahoo Pub is here. We come." And I was kind of waiting and man, the last handful of years, that prediction has really come true. That's become a football factor again the last handful of years.
Their top 3 running backs return. They're top 3. So you have a bunch of
That's
weapons.
coming off a state title. Remember the first one a couple years ago? And
19. 19.
People thought that may have been a year early.
Right.
Although that backfield was a load.
Eli Emerson's huge. Jake Scanlon is the other lineman. I was forgetting his name initially. They lost their 2 defensive backs in Avery Whitting and Josh Edmonds, but linebacker is a major strength with Braylon Iverson, who he had 107 total tackles last year. His dad's a defensive coordinator. He literally is calling calling the plays out, calling plays. I mean, this is just practice, and dude's like, "Oh, he's coming here," and all that. I mean, very vocal. Like him a lot. He was pretty good. Aurora is 2.
He just came from there, right?
Yeah, it was Aurora.
Back quarterback.
Yeah, Cannon Allen is a guy for them. He's not super big, but Booker, if he can get some time to get him the ball, they'll find a way to get him the ball, and he's a good defensive back too. So saw them in June.
What does Lakeview bring back with that skill? How are they up front?
Up front,
because I know they could sling it.
Yeah, Luke Wellman is 6'3", 270 sophomore. So I really like him. They got a couple other big bodies. Lakeview's the one that's like, they play at Gross Thursday night. That's a new opponent, you know. And Gross, I think, maybe is flying a little under the radar there because he's done a nice job.
Just turned it back over from that senior class a couple years ago.
Yeah, they had a nice year.
They had like 35 seniors.
2 years ago. And then last year they backed it up with a nice year, made the playoffs. So we'll see if that can kind of continue.
He's one of the nicer guys in sports.
Yeah, he's great. So, but Lakeview, I really like that Luke Wellman kid. I think he's pretty good. They got a nice back, obviously extremely well coached. So we'll see.
I may be biased, but Central City at 10 seem low.
Low. Yeah.
Doesn't that seem low?
Low. Low for me.
I think they're pretty good. I'll just say they didn't get a vote from one of the coaches at all. So I know one thing. I look at C2 and it's typical, right? It's going to be a gauntlet, though.
Yeah.
Top heavy.
But if there's a player that you need to see in C2, it's Connor Booth at Bishop Newman.
Yeah, right.
And starting off
and
with
they
that
played
nice
Norfolk Catholic week 1, which Norfolk Catholic lost a lot of size up front. They don't have that Division I lineman that they've had the last forever.
So is Oakland Craig just on a cycle? Because this started about 5-6 years ago. And we thought it may just be a good run, but maybe not.
Coach Anderson's kid, Bregeland, I believe, is a do-it-all guy for them. Like,
I mean, they are again in the top 5.
They're always good. They were there last year, and they're always in the as long as he's the coach there and Coach Guz is like coaching the defense, they'll be fine. Numbers were a little low, I think, 2 years ago, but I think that's maybe picked up a little bit. They're always going to be in that conversation. Battle Creek is the one that, like, can this be the year that they get Norfolk Catholic out of their way? Because they haven't been able to do it.
It comes down to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they're major rivals. They're 10 minutes apart from each other. Connor Heiderman is 6'4", 270, and he's a junior. And then Dawson Amick's committed to Air Force. He's 6'4", 275. Like, up front, they're really good. They return their quarterback. Linebackers are kind of short, stocky body, tough kids. It's just, can you throw it enough? You don't really need to throw it that much. C2, just more run game and defense. But that's one of those things where will they be able to, get them out of their way finally? That's the one thing. I feel like they ran into that problem.
And then you jump down to 8-man.
Stanton, Sandy Creek,
loaded. Stanton, loaded.
Both those teams are really, really good. They were the 2 best teams in 8-man 1 last year. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's really anybody else.
Go to Mike Sauter's Twitter feed or NEB Prep socials to see his full practice reports on both of those two. Because he made trips out there.
I still think that Bloomfield, that opener for them,
Bloomfield and
because
Stanton,
they're coming off the state finals against House Dodge.
Yeah, right.
I think that was like 34-6 or whatever. But that's a big.
Yeah. Bloomfield's always big up front.
Big football team.
Yeah, yeah. Stanton though,
quick and twitchy.
From the 8-man-1 coaches I've talked to, even before I went to Stanton, Pullman is. They've said like he's the best. He's the most dynamic. He's the best player.
And I think he got hurt early. I think in the state finals, and they still kind of bounced back.
Fine.
I wondered how they would recover.
They can use him a running back and receiver.
Don't quote me, but before he got hurt early, I'm going off my. I think he already had 5 tackles.
Yeah,
and he got hurt in like the first quarter.
And then obviously I have Texas Tech commit Ren Brown, who
good length,
just a big, strong guy. Now they ran a play where they pulled him. And Pullman was running behind him, was like an option.
Yeah,
it was right in front of me, and I will never forget it because I was like the little defensive back. Yeah, I felt bad for him. I was like, yeah, man, I'm just laying down.
Before they trip over me.
Like, I am not, I'm just going to fall to, I am not, that's scary. Like,
100%.
That dude run, come on, man.
100%.
Pull him from the guard, and you're just, no, man, we're good here. I ain't messing with you. Sandy Creek's really good, though, too. They're big up front. Like, and they have about 6-7 linemen that are, like, big, kids, which is much different for 8-man. They don't have that much depth up front.
Yeah.
So, and the Shaw kids are both really good.
Big Brian Shaw guy.
Yeah, he's out there coaching up, like, the
good guy. Like,
yeah, it's great. Yeah. He was coaching up, like, the scout defense.
He knows what it's like. You can't get good looks without it.
Yeah.
You need a good scrappy squad.
Coaching them up, and then Christian Shaw is the younger brother of Ethan, who's the quarterback. Christian's a lineman. There's a lot to like there. Yeah. He's got some really good length. If he grows a couple more inches.
His dad had that unique frame where he was kind of long and
had
the long levers.
The same.
You didn't think it.
They're built very similar.
Oh, he had some long levers.
Yeah. Like his long, like I was standing there.
Shaw was nice. He could run too.
I was actually talking. I was standing next to Brian. I go, hey, see how long his arms are?
Yeah.
And I was like, he's not done growing yet, right? And he's like, oh, we don't think so. We hope so. He's like, I was a late bloomer, so we think maybe. And I'm like, yeah, if he gets to about 6'4", 6'5", it's over.
Highly instinctive too.
Right. Yeah. And he'll start defensive line for them. They got some big, long guys.
All right, Coach Shaw, I see you setting up a showdown potentially.
Yeah, they want it. I think they want that one back.
Yeah. It's another week of NEB preps. That was the long version.
I think when we get all three of us together, we're gonna.
Well, we got to be a little more concise when we'll just run through games.
Yeah, we want to try to touch on everybody here. Yeah, we don't want to focus just on the Metro here. Try to touch as many different parts of the state.
Also, the preseason one, so there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. All right, we'll give the condensed version. Still be as good. Two of the best in the business. That's Mike Sautter. That's Jacob Padilla. I'm ODB. It's another week of NEB Preps.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.